The world spun on, oblivious to the ancient gears turning beneath its surface, but for a select few, the veil was thinning. Across continents, two disparate souls, each touched by forgotten truths, found themselves drawn into a clandestine war, their destinies irrevocably intertwined. Ramon Villanueva, the seeker of unseen patterns. In the Philippines, Ramon de los Reyes Villanueva, a man whose gentle demeanor belied a formidable intellect, had long carried the quiet ache of disillusionment. His early years in the seminary had stripped away the comforting certainties of dogma, replaced by the unsettling realization that the Church's sacred rites echoed pagan practices, a carefully woven tapestry of adopted traditions designed more for control than divine connection. The tragic loss of his wife, Isabella, and their unborn child only amplified his thirst for a deeper, undeniable truth. With inherited wealth as his fuel, Ramon transformed his grief into a global odyssey. He traversed ancient lands, from the stone circles of Europe to the temples of Southeast Asia, meticulously documenting patterns, houses aligned to solar paths, superstitions echoing forgotten numerology, and, most compellingly, ancient landmarks precisely marking celestial events. His obsession solidified into archaeoastronomy, the belief that a singular, primordial celestial intelligence had guided humanity's earliest steps, its echoes recycled and recontextualized into all faiths. His research led him back to the very institutions he'd once abandoned. Encrypted emails from former seminary comrades, now ensconced as monsignors and bishops within the Vatican, provided chilling, veiled hints, unusual directives, ancient activations, and a pervasive sense of shadows extending into the sacred halls. This clerical disquiet resonated with the news of a corporate tower implosion in Tehran, a structural collapse so perfect it defied logic. Ramon's scholar's instinct, honed by years of connecting disparate dots, screamed not of engineering failure, but of a deliberate act, tied to the ancient Mithraic cult and a deeper, more sinister force he was beginning to identify. His research intersected directly with the audacious work of Dr. Ava Nazari, whose solar sacrament thesis on Mithraic persistence suddenly felt terrifyingly prescient. Ramon, recognizing a kindred spirit and a crucial lead, reached out. Ava Nazari, the flame awakened. Across the globe, Ava Nazari, a brilliant Iranian-American archaeologist specializing in ancient Near Eastern religions and Mithraism, was living the very myths she studied. Her controversial doctoral research had posited Mithra as a broken myth, a distorted derivative of an older solar deity. This academic pursuit had unknowingly tapped into a powerful, hidden lineage, the last hereditary Magavan bloodline, and she had become flame-born. Her activation was swift and terrifying. Irises shimmering with internal fire, blackouts that left her speaking forgotten ancient tongues, and vivid dreams of golden bulls and bleeding skies plagued her. A mysterious man in a Tehran cafe had handed her an ancient bronze coin, a bull, dagger, and serpent, a symbol matching her own long-abandoned sketches, confirming her deepest, most dangerous theories. She was not the first flame-born, but the last, a necessary vessel for the god's essence to manifest. Her unique status had not gone unnoticed. The Catholic Church, through its Council of the Second Veil, viewed her as a profound threat, marking her for neutralization. Yet, within the Church itself, a clandestine, multi-sided conflict raged. The Watchers faction, an ancient organization predating all known religions, sought to kill her, while the Mithras cult faction, secretly led by the enigmatic Dark Pope Leonce, worked from within the Church's highest echelons to protect and guide her. Caught in this hidden war where even clergy were double agents, Ava knew she had to act. Her path led to London, to retrieve her unfinished research, desperate to understand the full scope of what was happening to her. The converging paths. Ramon's email, a lifeline of validation in a world suddenly turned surreal, reached Ava. Her guarded reply confirmed his worst fears. The Tehran implosion was no accident, and she was experiencing a profound, terrifying activation tied to their shared research. She was heading to London, to her forgotten insights. Ramon's follow-up, offering assistance and a meeting, was met with silence. It was then that Ramon recognized the true architects of this invisible war. His Vatican hints, Ava's plight, the Church's pursuit of an activated man in Lisbon, it all pointed to the Watchers, the puppeteers he'd long suspected were controlling the flow of history through suppression. But he also sensed a counterforce: inexplicable communication delays, equipment malfunctions, subtle interventions actively trying to block the Watchers. This silent, unseen war, fought in the digital ether and mundane reality, had now ensnared Ava. Her silence was louder than any alarm bell. It screamed of interception, of a net tightening around her. Ramon's academic quest had become a desperate race against unseen forces. He looked out at the placid waters of the Mactan Channel, knowing his path was now irrevocably clear. He had to go to London. Not to visit a king, but to find the Queen of Fire. Elsewhere, Lisbon, Portugal, Ana Sophia's architecting of the code. Meanwhile, far from the ancient prophecies and whispered allegiances that drove Ramon and Ava, another formidable mind was sifting through data, her world a symphony of base pairs and algorithms. Dame Ana Sofia Mendes, at 34, moved through the gleaming, sterile corridors of BLXIS's Lisbon headquarters with a quiet intensity. As a senior genetic designer and team lead, her realm was the tantalizing promise of rewritten destinies, not the unpredictable chaos of ancient gods. BioLexis, a cutting-edge biotech firm, was secretly funded and operated by the Templars' nascent Privy Council. Its overt mission was advanced genetic engineering and DNA therapeutics, but its deeper purpose, known only to a select few like Anna, involved rigorous scientific exploration and clandestine intelligence, all in service of the Council's mandate. Anna, a dame within the Templars' ranks, was a scientist and a strategist, but her expertise lay in decoding the intricate language of life, not in espionage. Her meticulous efficiency, honed by a PhD in molecular genetics and years in biotech, made her invaluable. Her current focus was the Elias project. Elias Moreau, a subject brought in through BLXIS's GNU initiative, was proving to be a genetic enigma. The raw data, as reported by the field agent Lucia and relayed through Anna's meticulously efficient administrative assistant, Isabel Costa, literally screamed. His DNA contained unusual markers, repeats, and missing alleles that defied every conventional model. It was like looking at a corrupted data stream that, paradoxically, contained a perfect, hidden code. Ana Sofia pored over the sequencing results, her analytical mind whirring. This wasn't merely a rare outlier, it was something ancient, a lineage so profound it seemed to rewrite the very tree of life. Elias's subjective experiences, dreams of a hidden one and an internal fire, corroborated the objective data. This junk DNA, as Elias himself intuitively sensed, was a library, a cosmic Rosetta Stone stirring to life. She called Isabel into her office, holographic projections of Elias's genomic anomalies shimmering in the air between them. Isabel, Ana Sofia began, her voice calm but firm, the Elias project. I need a full briefing on all communications from Lucia, unedited. And I want weekly updates directly from her field logs, even the mundane ones. This isn't just about the data anymore, it's about the patterns surrounding its collection. Isabel nodded, her fingers already flying across a discrete personal device. Lucia's last report detailed continued sample collection, Dr. Mendes. She also mentioned an unusual sense of heightened energy from Elias Moreau. And a strange dream he recounted, involving fish and fire. Ana Sofia's keen mind connected the threads. Her focus remained purely scientific, understanding and containing this unprecedented biological phenomenon. She knew the risks. Any public exposure of Elias's condition would be catastrophic, transforming him from a scientific curiosity into a global phenomenon, potentially even a religious figure. BioLexis, and by extension, she, would be at the epicenter. Her advocacy for ethical genetics echoed in her mind. They needed to understand this, to contain it, and above all, to ensure it served humanity, not fractured it. Ana Sofia leaned back, her fingers tapping rhythmically on her desk. We need more data, she finally said, her eyes fixed on the shimmering anomaly. But we also need to contain this. Discreetly. If the Watchers or the Vatican have even a hint of his true nature, the consequences could be irreversible. This isn't just about a rare disease anymore, Isabel. This is about rewriting the very definition of human potential, or unleashing a force we can barely comprehend. Her project, once confined to the quiet hum of gene sequences, had suddenly opened a door to something far older than code, something that whispered of forgotten covenants and ancient fire. Ana Sofia Mendez, the meticulous genetic designer, now understood the full weight of her position. Her findings on Elias Moreau, and the raw, dangerous data his existence represented, would undoubtedly require her formal assessment for strategic oversight. Confidential report. Elias Moreau, subject of paramount interest. T.O. Dame Anya Sharma, Director of Global Threat Intelligence. Sir Kenjio Hiroshi, Lead Predictive Modeler from Dame Ana Sofia Mendez, Senior Genetic Designer and Team Lead, BioLexis Date, June 25, 2025. Subject, Preliminary Assessment. Elias Moreau, Genetic Anomaly and Strategic Imperative. 1. Executive Summary. This report outlines the anomalous genetic profile of subject Elias Moreau, Portuguese national, early to mid-40s, cybersecurity consultant, and delineates the urgent strategic implications his existence presents to the nascent Privy Council. Initial data acquired through BLXIS's GNU initiative, though seemingly innocuous in its collection, reveals a biological activation of unprecedented scope. Mr. Moreau is not merely a rare genetic outlier, he appears to be a living nexus of ancient, transformative energies. His situation demands immediate and sustained attention from the Council, as his unique state represents both a profound scientific opportunity and a critical vulnerability in the unfolding global landscape. 2. Discovery and initial observations. Why Elias caught my attention. The subject, Elias Moreau, initially engaged with our GNU public outreach program for standard genetic ancestry and health analysis. The data returned from his initial biological samples, however, immediately flagged a highly anomalous profile. My team, through meticulous sequencing and bioinformatics analysis, identified unusual genetic markers, presence of repeat sequences and missing alleles in non-coding, junk regions of his DNA that defy conventional human genomic models. Active epigenetic modification. Crucially, these anomalous sequences are not dormant. They appear to be actively evolving and self-rewriting, indicating a dynamic, living biological transformation. This is unprecedented in contemporary genetic understanding. Intuitive resonance. Mr. Moreau's subjective experiences, as reported through our field agent Lucia, corroborate the objective data. He describes an internal fire, golden rings in his pupils, and a flame-shaped mark on his chest. He articulates a profound sense that something's inside me that doesn't belong to any known tree of life, suggesting an inherent awareness of his unique biological state. He also recounts vivid, recurring dreams of celestial events and ancient figures, the Hidden One, Mithra, and appears to be accessing ancestral memories. These biological and experimental anomalies strongly indicate a fundamental alteration of Mr. Moreau's genetic and energetic signature, far beyond what our current scientific paradigms can explain. It is, for all intents and purposes, a biological activation. 3. Strategic imperative for the nascent Privy Council. Mr. Moreau's anomalous state directly intersects with the core mandates of the nascent Privy Council and demands our immediate, high-level intervention for several critical reasons. Flame-born hypothesis. Potential correlation. While direct confirmation is beyond my current purview, Mr. Moreau's manifestation of internal fire and unique genetic signature bears strong resemblance to early-stage flame-born profiles theorized by Council intelligence. This suggests Mr. Moreau may be another key individual in the broader era of convergence that the Grand Masters tasked us to navigate. Rewriting human potential. The active, self-modifying nature of his junk DNA is not merely an anomaly, it represents the potential to rewrite the very definition of human potential. Understanding and potentially guiding this process aligns directly with the Council's long-term scientific and philosophical objectives. Target of adversarial factions. Intelligence assessment. While specific details are still being gathered by Global Threat Intelligence, my team's analysis of his exposure and the nature of his anomaly strongly suggests Mr. Moreau is, or will soon be, a subject of intense interest for adversarial factions. The unique signature of his activation implies he is a target for entities seeking to exploit or suppress such phenomena. Vulnerability of BioLexis GNU. As the initial point of contact and data acquisition, BLXIS's GNU initiative is a direct link to Mr. Moreau. This facility is a potential leak point and is susceptible to infiltration by hostile entities. We must secure our data streams and operational protocols concerning this subject immediately. Information warfare implications. Should Mr. Moreau's condition become public without our control, he could become a global scientific or religious obsession. This would generate immense noise and misdirection, potentially obscuring the Council's true objectives and making our clandestine operations significantly more challenging. We must control the narrative surrounding him. 4. Recommendations. Based on this preliminary assessment, I strongly recommend the following immediate actions. Prioritize surveillance and protection. Deploy Sir Reese Kalen's autonomous systems and Dame Celeste Dubois's covert field operatives to establish a discreet, robust perimeter around Mr. Moreau in Lisbon. Prepare for immediate extraction if his security posture is compromised. Infiltration and data security. Sir Julian Thorne's cyber operations team should conduct a full security audit and, if necessary, an infiltration of GNU GILXIS's non-council-controlled systems to ascertain the extent of adversarial infiltration and secure all relevant data. Counter-narrative development. Sir Marcus Stone's team should begin drafting plausible deniability protocols and counter-disinformation strategies to manage potential public exposure of Mr. Moreau's condition. Interdisciplinary analysis. Sir Kenjiro Hiroshi's predictive modeling team should integrate Mr. Moreau's genetic data and experimental anomalies into existing models to refine our understanding of activation and the broader era of convergence. Direct engagement protocol. A protocol for discrete, direct engagement with Mr. Moreau must be developed. We need to assess his awareness, motivations, and potential as an asset. The Elias project is not merely a scientific curiosity, it is a strategic imperative. His existence is reshaping the very definition of human potential, and the Council must be positioned to guide this transformation rather than be swept away by its consequences. The ancient stone chamber beneath the Convento de Cristo in Tomar hummed with a different kind of power than it had centuries ago. No longer just the echoes of monastic vows, but the low thrum of advanced processes and the focused energy of minds honed by centuries of clandestine purpose. Around the heavy, Latin-inscribed round table sat the 7 operational pillars of the nascent Privy Council. Dame Anya Sharma, her posture precise, commanded the holographic display that shimmered above the table, showing Ana Sofia Mendez's confidential report, Elias Moreau. Anna herself appeared via a secure, crystal-clear projection from BXIS's Lisbon bunker. "Thank you, Dame Mendez," Anya began, her voice calm but carrying the weight of immediate priority. "Your preliminary assessment of subject Moreau is compelling and deeply concerning." Sir Julian Thorne, ever the pragmatist, tapped a finger on his interface. "The epigenetic rewrite. Unprecedented. If this junk DNA truly holds ancient code, the implications are staggering. A living Rosetta Stone, as Dame Mendez put it." Indeed, Sir Kenjiro Hiroshi added, his gaze fixed on the predictive models. His activation signature, while unique, shares structural resonance with other, theoretical flame-born profiles. The convergence is accelerating. Dame Valerus Vance, her financial projections swirling in a corner of the display, cut to the core issue. The immediate problem is containment and leverage. Our funds, while substantial from centuries of dispersed investment, are not infinite. We operate with a different kind of deep pocket than a nation-state. And our human resources, particularly dedicated field agents, are our most limiting factor. Most knights serve in other capacities. Sir Reese Kalen, his hands resting on his tactical tablet, nodded. Direct, overt intervention is too risky and too costly. We cannot afford a prolonged engagement or a public spectacle. Any asset deployed must have maximum impact with minimal footprint. Precisely why this situation presents a unique opportunity for strategic misdirection, rather than just containment, Sir Marcus Stone interjected, his eyes glinting. Dame Mendez's initial report touches on the information warfare implications. We need to control the narrative before it spills. Anya gestured to Ana Sofia's projection. Dame Mendez, your recommendations are noted. Now, let's discuss execution within our parameters. The Council is clear. Elias Moreau is a primary imperative. We will act with surgical precision. Council directives. The Elias Imperative. The Council moved swiftly, the 7 minds converging on a plan that leveraged their strengths while mitigating their weaknesses. Objective overview. Primary objective: secure, protect, and understand Elias Moreau's biological activation as a potential key to the era of convergence. Secondary objective: control all information pertaining to his anomalous state to prevent exploitation by adversarial factions, Watchers, Mithra's cult, or public panic. Tertiary objective: revenue generation. Leverage BLXIS's public-facing presence to subtly introduce wild theories surrounding cutting-edge genetic research, creating a smokescreen and potentially generating additional, discrete revenue streams for long-term council operations. Probable key results, KRS. KR1, subject isolation and protection. Elias Moreau secured in a council-controlled safe environment within 72 hours of operational deployment. No hostile faction directly engages or compromises Elias. KR2, genomic and experimental data acquisition. Comprehensive, real-time genomic sequencing and full experimental profiling of Elias Moreau initiated within 1 week of securing the subject. KR3, narrative control established. Preemptive disinformation campaigns and counter-narratives launched via BLXIS's public channels to muddy public waters regarding junk DNA and unexplained biological phenomena within 48 hours. KR4, adversary infiltration identified and neutralized. Full security audit of BioLexis GNU systems completed, and any Watcher Mithra's cult infiltration identified and neutralized within 2 weeks. Team leadership and coordination. Dame Anya Sharma fixed her gaze on Anna Sophia's projection. Dame Mendez, your scientific expertise is paramount. You will continue to lead the Elias Project's scientific and analytical branches, coordinating directly with Sir Kenjio Hiroshi for predictive modeling. However, the operational and intelligence aspects require a dedicated liaison from this council. Anya then turned to Dame Celeste Dubois. Dame Dubois, given your command of covert field operations and your tactical acumen, you are the ideal candidate. You will serve as the primary operational lead and direct liaison for the Elias Project. You will actively coordinate with Dame Mendez's scientific teams and deploy your ground operatives for surveillance, protection, and the discreet engagement with Mr. Moreau. Celeste's eyes, sharp and focused, acknowledged the directive. Understood. The priority is a limited, precise engagement. We inform him of his potential and the enemies he faces, but we do not overwhelm him. He needs to understand he has a choice, and that the Council offers protection and answers, not enslavement. Sir Julian Thorne chimed in. My Cybops team will provide full digital ghosting and counter-surveillance. Any attempt to track Elias through conventional means will be diverted into a labyrinth of false flags. Sir Marcus Stone nodded. And my team will begin seeding the media with controlled leaks of breakthroughs in non-coding DNA. Enough to excite public interest, draw the academic sharks, and bury the truth in a sea of speculation. Our funding models will shift to absorb inquiries from venture capitalists eager to invest in this revolutionary biotech. It will be a brilliant distraction. The Council's resolve hardened. The Elias Project was now fully active, a complex tapestry of science, subterfuge, and strategic intervention. Their limited numbers and financial constraints demanded ingenuity, and in the shadowed chamber beneath Tamar, the chess pieces of an ancient war were being moved with modern precision. Ramon de los Reyes Villanueva, his mind a whirlwind of ancient patterns and modern conspiracies, boarded his flight from Mactancebu International Airport, CB, bound for London. His heart, however, was already in England, racing towards the Queen of Fire. His journey, however, was destined to be as circuitous and laden with symbolic discovery as his academic quest. The first leg of the journey took him from Cebu to Singapore. Ramon settled into his seat, the hum of the engines a temporary balm to his restless thoughts. But fate, or perhaps the Watcher's subtle manipulations, had other plans. Mid-flight, an announcement crackled through the cabin. A technical issue with the aircraft, requiring an unscheduled overnight stay. They were forced to disembark in Singapore, with the airline providing hotel accommodation. Ramon sighed, the delay a minor inconvenience in the grand scheme of his urgent mission. While in Singapore, with an unexpected day to spare, Ramon found himself pondering the nature of the deity at the heart of his and Ava's shared obsession. He remembered fragments from his research. Mithra, the Roman unconquered sun, had roots far deeper, back to the Vedic Mitra. Mitra, an Indian god, and Asura, a cosmic being often associated with covenants and light. Ramon mused on how the Asuras, once revered, were sometimes demonized in later narratives. If Mitra, the god of alliance and light, could be twisted, what truth lay hidden in that distortion? He felt an inexplicable pull to seek out a physical manifestation of these ancient connections. Might as well visit an Indian temple, he thought, grabbing his leather journal. He sought out the oldest Hindu temples in the city, eventually finding himself before the vibrant Sri Mariamman temple. Its towering gopuram, adorned with countless deities, seemed to hum with ancient energy. Inside, the intricate carvings and painted ceilings spoke of cosmic cycles, divine energies, and a pantheon of gods connected to the sun and stars, a celestial intelligence echoing his own archaeoastronomical theories. The pervasive scent of incense and jasmine felt like a living invocation, a silent confirmation of the enduring thread of worship. Later, as he continued his explorations, Ramon found himself inexplicably drawn to a less ornate, yet equally imposing, building, a Masonic temple. Though unable to enter, his scholar's curiosity led him to walk its perimeter, his gaze meticulously scanning the stonework. On the northeast side, at the bottom of one of the posts, he noticed what appeared to be a faint carving, almost weathered into obscurity. Reaching for his water bottle, he lightly wet the stone. As the water absorbed, 7 distinct stars emerged from the faint etching, seemingly poured from a small, stylized vase carved beside them. The image was subtle, yet unmistakable, a pattern he had seen before in archaic texts, speaking of ancient wisdom and hidden orders. The next day, Ramon reluctantly boarded his flight to Istanbul. The heat and humidity of Singapore, though stifling, were indeed better than Manila, he thought, a grim chuckle escaping his lips. He was exhausted from his fervent walking and the intellectual breakthroughs. Upon arrival in Istanbul, a fresh wave of frustration washed over him. During his transfer to another airline, yet another technical issue with the aircraft surfaced, forcing a 2-day delay. A double whammy, he muttered, massaging his temples. This time, the airline only covered the flight change, not the hotel. He sighed deeply, the financial impact a minor irritant compared to the mounting urgency of his quest. Just as he was about to resign himself to a quiet 2 days of forced rest, another blow landed. The day he was finally scheduled to depart, an accident at the airport caused a full day's closure. Sent back to his unpaid hotel, Ramon decided to channel his restless energy. He set his sights on Hagia Sophia, a monument that had once been a church, then a mosque, and now a museum, a palimpsest of faiths, perfect for his studies. Walking through Hagia Sophia, Ramon felt the weight of centuries pressing down. Under its colossal dome, light streamed through the myriad windows, illuminating vast, breathtaking mosaics. He traced the lines of ancient Christian and Byzantine art, then the layers of Islamic calligraphy. It was then he saw it, not a singular symbol, but a pervasive theme, an echoing invocation. The way the light flooded the space, especially at certain hours, seemed to transform the dome into a celestial vault. The grand scale, the deliberate placement of windows, the luminous gold of the mosaics, even the echoes of the ancient Sol Invictus from Rome in his mind, all spoke of the unconquered sun hidden in plain sight. It was like walking through a series of stations, each revealing a different aspect of divine light's journey, a subtle, yet powerful, testament to the enduring presence of solar veneration beneath layers of shifting dogma. He recognized the cunning hand of the grand accumulator, absorbing and recontextualizing ancient practices. Finally, after 3 days of unexpected delays and profound discoveries, Ramon secured a flight to London. His mind, overflowing with newfound connections and renewed purpose, was ready for the next stage of his journey to find the Queen of Fire. Ramon's arrival in London is driven by a singular, urgent purpose: to find Ava Nazari, the Queen of Fire, whose silence after his last email screamed of danger. His academic quest has transformed into a desperate race against unseen forces. Upon disembarking from his flight at London Heathrow, LHR, a bustling nexus that, despite its modern efficiency, felt a world away from the ancient energies he now pursued. Ramon moved with a quiet urgency. The long, circuitous journey had taken its toll, but his mind remained sharp, fueled by an almost feverish need for answers. Seamless passage and subtle scrutiny. Ramon's extensive travels as a jet-setter and a renowned scholar, coupled with his inherited wealth, had long smoothed his passage across international borders. His passport bore the stamps of countless nations, a testament to legitimate academic conferences, archaeological digs, and research sabbaticals. He possessed a valid, multi-entry UK visa, a standard acquisition for someone with his global professional footprint. Moreover, his past as a seminarian and the lingering connections with friends now in high clerical positions had quietly opened doors and provided layers of plausible deniability should his true interests ever be questioned by less conventional authorities. He moved through the world with the quiet confidence of one who belonged everywhere and nowhere. Even so, passing through Heathrow immigration was always a moment of subtle tension. He approached the border officer, a stern-faced woman with tired eyes, her gaze sweeping over his passport. "Purpose of visit, sir?" she asked, her voice clipped. "Academic research," Ramon replied, his tone calm, a faint, reassuring smile on his lips. "Meeting colleagues at Oxford. I'm a visiting scholar." She tapped her keyboard, her eyes flicking between his passport photo and his face, lingering for a fraction longer than usual. Her gaze seemed to pierce, searching for something beyond the official answers. Ramon held her scrutiny with an almost monk-like patience, his gentle dark brown eyes betraying nothing but mild fatigue. He was acutely aware of the watchers, of unseen currents, but presented only the facade of the unassuming academic. After a long beat, she finally nodded, the faintest hint of a sigh escaping her. "Very well. Move along, sir." Ramon offered a polite thank you and stepped through, blending seamlessly into the stream of arriving passengers. The small hold-up was a reminder that even in the open, unseen eyes were always watching. The ride to Oxford and a quiet billet. Ramon made his way directly to the train connection bound for Oxford, the rhythmic clatter of the tracks a stark contrast to the cacophony of his thoughts. He gazed out at the rolling English countryside, a landscape so different from the bustling streets of Cebu or the sun-baked dust of Egypt. Each mile that separated him from London Heathrow brought him closer to Ava. He knew the church's pursuit of the man in Lisbon, coupled with Ava's sudden silence, meant she was in immediate peril. He was stepping into a very real, very dangerous war, and his only weapon was the truth he sought. Upon arriving in Oxford, the familiar scent of old stone and damp earth was a welcome change from airport sterility. Ramon, though tired, felt a fresh surge of purpose. He bypassed the more prominent hotels on the main thoroughfares, opting instead for a discreet, privately owned guest house on a quiet side street just a short walk from the university's outer colleges. The Rose and Ivy Guest House, its facade covered in tenacious climbers, offered precisely the kind of unassuming anonymity he required. The elderly proprietor, a woman with kind eyes and a minimal interest in small talk, merely nodded as Ramon efficiently handled his check-in. His room was small but impeccably clean, with a window overlooking a cobbled alleyway. He dropped his single, worn leather bag, splashed cold water on his face, and immediately pulled out his journal. Sleep, he knew, would have to wait. This quiet room, far from the Mactan Channel and the Vatican's shadowed corridors, was now his temporary command center. Awaiting a reply, the digital lifeline. First things first, communication. Ramon powered on his tablet, his fingers a blur as he bypassed its security protocols, a skill honed over years of delving into restricted digital archives. He navigated to his encrypted email, a knot tightening in his stomach. Had Ava replied since his last message, the one offering help, the one that had met with deafening silence? He refreshed the inbox. A new message. From Ava. The knot in his stomach eased slightly, replaced by a surge of desperate hope. He opened it immediately. Email from Ava Nazari to Ramon Villanueva. Subject: an unsettling intersection of scholarship and current events. Dear Mr. Villanueva, I confess, your email arrived at a most opportune, or perhaps unsettling, time. Your name does ring a bell from Professor Calderon's often colorful anecdotes. And your assessment of the solar sacrament is, dare I say, perceptive. Your theories on approach religion and the recycling of ancient spiritual grammar resonate powerfully with my own, often unvoiced, convictions. Indeed, some of my earliest and most dangerous thoughts, those I chose not to publish, delve precisely into that territory, tracing symbols across millennia to a singular source. Regarding Tehran and the stirrings you observe in Rome, yes. It sounds precisely like my recent activities, or rather, the activities that have found me. The implosion, as you suspect, was no accident, and the attention from certain quarters is, shall we say, more than academic. I've recently undergone a rather profound, and somewhat terrifying, activation that seems inextricably linked to the very subjects we both study. In fact, I'm preparing to travel to London imminently. I need to access some of my unfinished research, old notes and theories that I'd, perhaps foolishly, left behind. They may hold keys to understanding what is now very actively unfolding around me. It feels less like research and more like a necessary pilgrimage into my own forgotten insights. Thank you for reaching out, Ramon. Your email is validating in a world that suddenly feels very, very strange. Best, Ava Nazari. Ramon read it again. A fresh wave of relief washed over him, quickly followed by renewed urgency. This was her initial reply, not the one he'd expected from after his offer of meeting. It confirmed his worst fears about her situation, but also ignited a new thread of hope. She was in London, and she was seeking answers. His fingers flew across the virtual keyboard. Email from Ramon Villanueva to Ava Nazari. Subject, an unsettling intersection of scholarship and current events, urgent. Dear Dr. Nazari, thank you for your prompt, and frankly, vital reply. I confess, I had already begun to fear the worst given the escalating tensions and a recent lack of direct contact. I am relieved to know you are safe, at least for now, and actively seeking understanding. Your experiences resonate deeply with my own, particularly the profound sense of activation and the unsettling connection to ancient energies. My recent travels and research have only solidified my conviction that the truths we uncover are far from academic, but are active, living forces. I have just arrived in Oxford, precisely to follow the thread of your work here and to offer my immediate assistance. My expertise, such as it is, lies in connecting disparate patterns, discerning hidden influences, and navigating less conventional avenues of information. I believe I can be of genuine use in your necessary pilgrimage. Please, if it is at all possible, let me know your current location or a secure means by which we can meet. Time, I fear, may be of the essence. I am ready to move whenever and wherever you deem necessary. Sincerely, Ramon Villanueva Guesthouse Rose and Ivy, Oxford. While Ramon rests to add the tiresome week with the delays and the jet lag, and to catch up on the sleep loss due to his fervent intellectual pursuits amidst the unexpected detours, the world of hidden forces continues its inexorable turn. Professor Calderon emerges as a figure of intriguing connection between Ava Nazari and Ramon Villanueva, as revealed in an email where Ava remarks, "Your name does ring a bell from Professor Calderon's often colorful anecdotes." This seemingly casual mention carries significant weight, implying a shared academic or professional sphere that both individuals inhabit or once inhabited. The phrase often colorful anecdotes paints a vivid picture of Professor Calderon not merely as an instructor or colleague, but as a personality renowned for his engaging, perhaps even eccentric, storytelling. This detail suggests several possibilities about Professor Calderon's character and influence. He is likely a well-regarded or memorable individual within their circles, given that his stories are recalled with such specificity. The colorful nature of his anecdotes hints at a certain theatricality or a unique perspective, perhaps even a tendency towards exaggeration for dramatic effect, which would undoubtedly make him a memorable figure. These anecdotes could range from humorous classroom incidents, insightful observations about their field, or even personal adventures woven into his lectures. Furthermore, the fact that Ramon's name would be associated with these anecdotes suggests a direct or indirect relationship between Ramon and Professor Calderon. Ramon might have been a particularly memorable student, a research assistant, a collaborator, or even the subject of some of these tales himself. This connection through a third party like Professor Calderon subtly reinforces a bond between Ava and Ramon, creating an immediate point of shared experience and familiarity. It suggests that their initial interaction, or at least Ava's perception of Ramon, is framed by the lens of Professor Calderon's recollections, setting a tone of established connection rather than a completely new introduction. Ultimately, Professor Calderon, through his lively narratives, acts as an unexpected yet potent bridge between Ava Nazari and Ramon Villanueva, establishing a foundational layer of shared history and mutual acquaintance. Meanwhile, somewhere in a sleek, minimalist apartment overlooking the rain-slicked streets of Berlin, a man thrashed in the grip of a nightmare. Sweat plastered his dark hair to his forehead, and his features, sharp and aristocratic even in distress, contorted. Images of a golden bull, a searing flame, and ancient, guttural chants swirled through his subconscious. He cried out, a muffled sound swallowed by the opulent silence of the room. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open. He gasped, sucking in ragged breaths, his chest heaving as if he had just escaped a crushing weight. The lingering terror of the dream clung to him, a cold shroud in the pre-dawn darkness. He sat bolt upright, heart hammering against his ribs, staring wildly at the familiar contours of his bedroom, trying to reconcile the visceral horror with the mundane reality. It took a long moment and several deep, shuddering breaths, for the last tendrils of the nightmare to recede, leaving him shaken and profoundly disturbed.